Marcus Aurelius had the power to execute anyone in the known world with a single word: unlimited wealth, absolute authority, every pleasure available, every desire within reach, and he chose none of it. He lived like a monk while ruling an empire, slept on the floor, ate simple bread, denied himself everything he could have taken. That's not discipline. That's something far more terrifying. You can't control yourself. I don't mean you're weak. I mean you've never even seen what real self-control looks like. So you have no reference point for what's actually possible. You skip one workout and call it a rest day. You break your diet and call it balance. You watch one video and 3 hours disappear. You say you'll start tomorrow and tomorrow never comes. And you think you're practicing self-control when you occasionally do what you said you'd do. That's not self-control. That's basic functionality. That's the bare minimum of being a competent human. Real self-control, the kind that actually transforms you, looks nothing like what you're doing. It's not about occasionally resisting temptation. It's about becoming someone temptation can't touch. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But he didn't just write it. He lived it at a level that would break most modern men in 48 hours. The most powerful man in the world could have anything, do anything, to anyone, without consequence, without accountability, without anyone who could stop him. Absolute power. The thing that corrupts absolutely, according to every historian who studied human nature. Except it didn't corrupt Marcus, because his self-control wasn't about resisting external temptations. It was about mastering internal nature. And that's what makes it terrifying. Not impressive, terrifying. Because when you see what he actually did, when you understand the level of control he maintained, you realize how far you are from anything resembling discipline. You're not even playing the same game. You're not even aware the game exists. Let me show you what real self-control looks like, and why it's the most frightening thing a man can develop. Marcus Aurelius didn't develop self-control for moral reasons. He developed it because he understood something most men never grasp. Power without self-control is slavery. You become a slave to your own desires. A puppet dancing on strings made of impulse. Let me show you the levels of control he practiced, and why each one is more disturbing than the last. Level 1. Control over pleasure. Marcus had access to every physical pleasure the ancient world could provide. The finest food, the most beautiful women, wine, entertainment, luxury beyond imagination. He chose almost none of it. He wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess." While other emperors drowned in excess, Marcus ate simple meals, slept on basic bedding, wore plain clothes, not because he couldn't afford luxury, because he refused to let pleasure control him. This isn't about being ascetic. It's about testing whether you control your desires or your desires control you. Most men can't go 24 hours without checking their phones. Marcus went years without indulging in pleasures he could have had at any moment. Level 2. Control over anger. Senators plotted against him. Generals betrayed him. His own wife may have conspired to kill him. His son was destroying everything he built. He had the power to execute them all. One word: instant death. Legal, justified. He didn't. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This is what separates true self-control from simple restraint. Restraint is not doing something you want to do. Self-control is not wanting to do it in the first place. Marcus didn't hold back his anger. He transformed it, transmuted it into philosophy, into justice, into measured response. Level 3. Control over fear. Death surrounded Marcus constantly. Plague, assassination attempts, war. Every day could be his last. Every meal could be poisoned. Every trusted advisor could be a traitor. He wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." While his guards feared for his life, Marcus feared nothing. Not because he was brave, because he had completely mastered his response to fear. He didn't suppress it. He didn't ignore it. He controlled it so completely that it ceased to affect his decisions. Level 4. Control over comfort. This is where it gets truly frightening. Most self-control is about denying yourself bad things. Marcus denied himself good things. He could have ruled from a palace in comfort. He chose to sleep in military camps on the freezing frontier, could have delegated wars to generals. He led from the front lines, could have lived in Rome's luxury. He chose the hardest path available. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Being good wasn't enough. He had to be tested. Had to prove his control wasn't dependent on easy circumstances. Had to know he could maintain his character in the worst possible conditions. Level 5. Control over legacy. This is the level that reveals true mastery. Marcus knew his son would destroy Rome, knew everything he built would crumble, knew his life's work was essentially pointless, and he kept working anyway. He wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." He didn't control his legacy. He controlled his need for legacy. Didn't need history to remember him. Didn't need his work to last. Didn't need validation from future generations. He did what was right because it was right. Not for reward, not for recognition, not even for results. That's complete self-control. Control over the very need for control. Mastery over the desire for mastery. Level 6. Control over self-image. The final level, the one almost no one reaches. Marcus was the most powerful man alive. Emperor, philosopher, warrior, legend. And he wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life." It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. He didn't identify with being emperor, didn't attach to being powerful, didn't define himself by his achievements. He controlled even his relationship with his own identity. This is where self-control becomes terrifying. Because at this level, you can't be manipulated, can't be threatened, can't be bought, can't be broken. You become ungovernable. Not by others, by your own nature. And that's the scariest thing a human can become. Now imagine building even a fraction of this control. Not all 6 levels, just 1 or 2. Watch what happens. Week 1, the discomfort. You start practicing level 1 control. You deny yourself one thing you want every day. Not need, want. The urge to check your phone. The desire to eat when you're bored. The impulse to sleep in. The craving for instant gratification. Just one urge, denied, daily. It's harder than you thought. Because you realize how much of your day is driven by impulse. How little actual control you have. How often you're just reacting to desires instead of directing them. Week 2, the recognition. People start noticing something different. You're less reactive. When someone tries to provoke you, you pause. You don't take the bait. You've started practicing level 2, control over anger, over reaction, over the impulse to defend your ego. Someone insults you. Instead of the automatic response, you choose. And choosing feels like power. Week 3, the calm. You've been practicing level 3, control over fear. Not by being fearless, by recognizing fear and acting anyway. The difficult conversation you've been avoiding, you have it. The risk you've been scared to take, you take it. The thing you've been worried about, you face it. And you realize fear doesn't disappear, but it stops controlling your decisions. You feel it and act with purpose anyway. Week 4, the test. You deliberately choose discomfort. Level 4, the hard path over the easy one. The workout when you're tired. The work when you're unmotivated. The discipline when no one's watching. Not because you have to, because you're testing your control, proving to yourself that comfort doesn't own you. Week 8, the shift. You're not the same person who started this. You've built something rare, not perfection, but direction. Not total control, but significantly more than you had. You notice the difference most in what doesn't affect you anymore. The things that used to trigger you, they bounce off. The temptations that used to control you, they're just suggestions now. You're not Marcus Aurelius. You might never be. But you've tasted what real self-control feels like. And once you taste it, once you know it's possible, you can't go back to being controlled by every impulse and emotion. Week 12, the realization. You understand now why Marcus's level of control is terrifying. Because the more control you develop, the more you see how little control everyone else has. You watch people enslaved by their phones, their cravings, their anger, their need for validation, their comfort, their ego. And you're not judging them. You're just recognizing they're not free. They think they are. But they're prisoners of their own desires. You're not fully free either. But you're freer than you were. And freedom is addictive. The scariest level of self-control isn't about becoming inhuman. It's about becoming human without being controlled by human weakness. Marcus achieved it, and he showed it's possible. Not easy, not natural, but possible. But here's what you need to understand. What makes this truly frightening? Most men will never attempt this. They'll watch this video, feel inspired for 12 minutes, and change nothing. Because real self-control is uncomfortable. It requires you to deny yourself constantly, to choose the hard path, to remain disciplined when every fiber of your being wants comfort. It's not a technique. It's a complete restructuring of your relationship with desire. Marcus Aurelius had everything and chose nothing. While you have nothing and still can't control yourself enough to build something, he ruled an empire while living like a monk. You can't even rule your own morning routine. He faced death daily without fear. You're afraid of a difficult conversation. He controlled his anger while people plotted his death. You lose your temper over traffic. That gap, that vast ocean between his level of control and yours, that's what's terrifying. Not that he achieved it. That you haven't even started. So here's your choice. Your only choice if you're serious about this. Tomorrow morning, deny yourself one thing you want, not something you need to avoid. something you want that isn't necessarily bad. Just practice saying no to desire. Do it every day for 30 days. One denial, one choice. One moment where you prove desire doesn't own you. It won't make you Marcus Aurelius, but it'll show you what level 1 control feels like. And once you feel it, you'll understand why it's worth pursuing. Not because it makes you better than others, because it makes you free from yourself. Marcus wrote his final words knowing he was dying, knowing his empire would fall, knowing his life's work was ending. And he remained calm, controlled, philosophical until his last breath, not because he was superhuman, because he spent his entire life building self-control that nothing could break. Your life isn't ending today, but it's passing. Every moment you spend controlled by impulse is a moment you're not free. Start tomorrow. One denial, one choice, one small act of self-control. And if you can maintain it for 30 days, maybe you'll understand why Marcus's level of control isn't just impressive. It's absolutely terrifying. Because once you see what's possible, you can never unsee it. And you'll spend the rest of your life either pursuing it or running from it. Marcus pursued it until his final moment, through plague and war and betrayal and death. What will you choose? The decision was never about becoming Marcus Aurelius. It was always about stopping being a slave to your own desires. And that choice, as always, is entirely yours.